The Evermore podcast is now sponsored by WFST Total Compliance. WFST provides fire safety requirements UK-wide to prepare you and your employees should the worst happen. Do what you do best and visit wfst.co.uk today. Enjoy the episode. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Evermore YouTube channel. It's Chris and Mark back with the post-match reactions. You can see we're normally doing what's going on a Monday night, but as the Liverpool game was tonight, we thought we'd just wrap this up into a post-match review. And if I was going to say what's going on, I'll tell you what's going on. Liverpool are a bunch of cheating bastards. That's what's going on, Mark. After seeing that penalty dive, we'll get stuck right into that and everything else in a minute. Just before we do, a little reminder, if you're just chatting us out for the first time, good to see you. And before I say anything, Happy New Year to each and every single one of you. Yes, I hope you had a great one. And we'll hear about your New Year's in a minute. Sadly for Newcastle, it's a new year, but same old shite, unfortunately. But as I said, if you're just chatting us out for the first time, smash subscribe. We'd love you to come and join us. We're over 6,100 subs, as you can see. The button's there for you. Smash it, all free content. Loads of stuff to get stuck into and Evermore this coming year. We've had a great 2023. Hopefully 2024 is going to be even better for us. We've got post-match reviews that you're going to watch, loads of transfer rumours. Hopefully we'll actually sign some fucking players and we'll have loads more to talk about as well. And we're live tonight. Loads of you in the chat. We'll get stuck right into a minute. Mark will be helping us with the comments. But just before we do, Mark, we've been beaten 4-2 from Liverpool there. A weird game, suffice to say. I think I've just said to you before, we'll get into the players individually and how well they played in a minute. But, Liverpool fans whooping and hollering. I've had a couple of my mates texting me. I wouldn't get too excited. They had that many chances to score. I think I said to you, I've seen porn stars take more shots to the face than Martin Dubravka tonight. So Liverpool should have absolutely mullered us, to be brutally honest with you. But what was your take on the game, mate, before we get stuck into the lineup and just regale everybody about it?
Yeah, I think, look, I think I texted you at one point and said it could quite easily have been 8 or 9. And I think on another night, Dubravka doesn't have the game that he has. And it was one-way traffic for huge amounts of that game, wasn't it? And they created so much. They were wasteful. They created so many chances. Again, Darwin Núñez proves that he's not the world-class striker that lots of people have thought he was. He's so poor in front of goal. But you allow a Liverpool side that has got some world class in there to create that many chances, they're going to destroy you. It doesn't matter who you are. And Newcastle were really poor for large parts. There were some bright signs, but the way they sat off, the way that they allowed Liverpool to break into space, and at one point there was I think they were 3-1 up. And they broke with about 7 players, and that the counter-attack was phenomenal in that regard. And Newcastle didn't know what to do with them. They really didn't know what to do with them.
Yeah, just to back it up, they had 34 shots tonight at Liverpool and 15 on target versus our 5 and 3 on target. So we had a better on target rate than they did. But Graham's saying men against boys at times. However, a few glimpses of recovery. We'll talk about the half in a minute. We'll just get some of the comments. George is saying you can see why the first borderline pen stands, but never the second one. Yeah, we'll get into that in a minute, George. Disgraceful decision, in my opinion. Geordie was saying it was a good ride, lads. We need some serious investment. We're miles off it. Yeah, totally agree. Asset Vigilante says Bruce Ball again. I'm not sure Bruce could have even stumbled into it in probably a game like that, to be fair. But we'll kind of just go right back to the starting lineup. So this is how we lined up. There was a couple of big decisions on this one, really, Mark, because the news broke before the game. There was rumours going around that Miggy was going to be dropped, and he was dropped to the bench, as you can see. But the news that both Trippier and Wilson were out of the squad. Trippier apparently was a groin against Forest, and Wilson is a calf. So that's how we lined up. Dan Burnt left back, captain on the side, sent shivers down many people's spines. Didn't do too bad really in the end. Bruno Longstaff and Miley in midfield, and Joe in that front three with Gordon, who surprised us all because he was completely drained against Forest as well, and he starts again. But just on the Trippier Wilson thing, so it looks like Wilson's probably definitely going to miss the derby. Trippier will probably be a doubt. Is it time to get a bit concerned about the level of injuries, especially someone like Callum Wilson who's over 30, and Trippier's been really off form last few months, really, and now he's out with injuries in a really big game like tonight, where you think yourself, well, we probably could have needed him and his quality and his ability and his leadership and all that kind of stuff, his in-game management. I didn't think Tino did a bad job, really. There was a couple of times where he got caught, which we'll cover in a minute. But should we be worried about Trippier and Wilson, as they're supposed to be two of our key players?
If you go back enough videos from what we've done, I think we've said all along that we're worried about Wilson, and his injury record is just, you're not going to get the number of games you want out of your centre forward. He picked up so many injuries that keep him out for multiple games during the season. You're lucky to get him for losing just a minimum of 10. I think in a season, it's definitely an area that needs to be improved on. You need depth there. The Trippier one, I'm not sure. Is Trippier one where he's not fit enough for today, but will be fit enough for the weekend? If that's the case, then great, because you really need his qualities, his leadership against the Macmans at the weekend, because that atmosphere, that game can get a little bit overall for a few, I think, that have never experienced it. He's not played in it, but he will understand that sort of game. Yeah. Where he's played.
He's played in derbies before, Madrid derbies, North London derbies, so he knows the magnitude of the game.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm just about to pull it up. Yeah, thanks a lot, Keith, for your £2 donation. And his comment, he's not confident against the Mackhams after that. I don't think a lot of people are, Keith, to be honest, mate. But we'll get stuck into that again. But just a couple of other comments coming in as well. Just looking down here. We had one from was it our mate Woody? I'm just trying to find it here. They're all flying by. Where they gone? I've lost it. We're flying by the comments there, mate. Oh, here we go. Oh, mate, Woody. So Woody said, one-sided game. Should have been more. We were awful across the park at the minute. Can't see us getting anything next week or until February, to be honest. It is one of them concerns, especially with the month that's ahead. I mean, we'll just kind of wrap up, I suppose, the first half, Mark, as a whole, really. Liverpool started like a house on fire, didn't they, really? And they could have been in front in the first 20 seconds, really. There was worrying signs there, how they were getting them behind. We looked nervous. We look shaky. And then obviously, I think Núñez gets in first. Brilliant save by Dubravka, 1-on-1. I mean, he took a lot of stick off everybody else, including Dubravka, since he's come in for Pope. Yes, he's conceded 4 goals tonight, but he pulls off a great couple of one-on-one saves, really good reactionary saves. Obviously, a penalty gets given. The Diaz penalty, we'll get into that. So I think is it Botman that puts a challenge in, I think, or is it Byrne? And Diaz kind of again goes down. He rides the first tackle, stays on his feet, because if he went down the first tackle, you'd probably say Stonewall pen. Fair enough. Kind of disagree with that. But he rides that, and then he goes down in a delayed sense on the second one, and then they give a pen for that. And before we talk about Dubravka and how well he did with the pen, did you think that was a pen, mate? And what was your take on that one, with the Diaz one?
Yeah, look, I think it's one of those where there's enough contact to go yes. And I think I always look at this and go, what do you say if that's the other end? If that's given against Isak, you go, it's penalty all day long. What does for me, and actually for both of them, and I bring this back, both of them took steps after the contact.
Yeah. I think they could have stayed in their feet. Too.
Diaz, I think if you watch it back, his left foot is caught, and his left foot isn't able to then take the natural step that it's going to take, and then he goes down. And I think that's much more of a penalty than the second one. If you look at the second one, I know we'll come to that. That's horrendous, what happens with that one. But the first one, I don't think you can argue with it. It's debatable, I guess. But for me, there's enough of an impact on his foot, this placement of his foot, which is when he goes down. It's not like he takes 2 or 3 steps afterwards. It's that he goes to put his foot down. It's not where it should be. he then goes over, I can kind of go, okay, yes, I can live with that one. If that's at the other end, you're screaming for it to be a penalty. So I have no problem with that one at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Dubravka stands up, saves a penalty from Mo Salah. Bit of a weird penalty from Salah. Not a lot of composure. He went to smash it, didn't he? For some reason, I don't know why. And then Dubravka saves it, and then falls to Trent Alexander-Arnold, and he shins it over the bar. I don't know where he's just lost flight of the ball. It was absolutely pissing it down. So maybe he's lost flight of the ball. Maybe it's got a little bit messy, but I mean, like I say, we're kind of at the Alamo really in terms of that. We go in 0-0 at half time, and we come out and then we concede the first goal. Again, it's a bit disappointing. It's kind of the shape is a little bit all over the place. It's almost straight through the middle of the park again, isn't it? And then it's a bit of passing movement. I mean, Christ, before I go any further, if anyone was watching Sky Sports like I was, holy shit! I mean, the commentary from Drury and Gary Neville, you would have thought these wankers had Liverpool in their racker or something. The way they were talking, they were fucking disgusting. The pair of them. That Drury, I never thought anyone would make me miss Martin Tyler in my life. And listening to that guy talk about Liverpool, what a fucking wank he was, by the way. And then the goal goes in. You would have thought it was a Messi goal the way he was talking. Messi, yes, from the point of Newcastle, shape-wise, it was Messi, and then they score that goal. But I mean, for starters, the goal first, Mark, and then the fucking Sky commentary. Give us your take on both of those, mate.
Well, I've lost in the Sky commentary thoughts because I actually quite like Drury as a commentator.
Not after the night. That was
at times. I think he's got a good way with the way that he describes things. I do think he can be good, but tonight it felt like he was itching for Liverpool to score. He was itching for them to win. His ability to recognise players on the field. I noticed a couple of times that he got them completely mixed up. He got Sean and Dan Burn mixed up a couple of times. He got Bruno and Joe Linton mixed
every
up.
Every time he got them two mixed up, yeah.
He wasn't doing very well with his recognition of players. But yeah, Martin Tyler got a lot of stick. But yeah, I can kind of see your point. Neville's a weird one because you'd almost think Neville was a Liverpool fan the way he was talking at times.
But it's that greedy six bias for me, that whole elite club bias that Neville thrives on that league being Manchester United, Liverpool, Arsenal, Spurs, Chelsea. He thrives on that, and he hates anybody else gate crashing that party. No matter what he says, he gate crashes on that. Social John saying, my man, you got to mute TT Sky Sports. Yeah, you're right, mate. I think I have to do social because they're just fucking. I put on our X feed that I'm not watching another Newcastle game on Sky Sports after that. It was absolutely fucking abysmal. But the goal itself, obviously, Salah taps in from close range. Really, again, it is defensively poor. I mean, I think you're looking at there's too many free men on the attack, isn't there? I remember seeing that going. I think Longstaff struggling to come back from the midfield to track and run it back. Burns caught short again with his lack of pace. I think it was one of the only times that Joe Linton didn't cover Burns' arse, really. I'm not slagging Burn off because he wasn't terrible, but I think Joe Linton masked how exposed he was because of Joe Linton's just pure endeavour. I thought Joe Linton was great today. He was into everything. To be fair, he should have been booked about 17 tackles before he was actually booked, in all fairness. But I thought Joe was strong today. And I think without him there, we probably do get rinsed. Without him and Dubravka, I think we probably do get rinsed on that left-hand side.
Yeah, I mean, look, Joe, the one that the challenge in the first half that was it was a yellow card all day long.
Oh, the shoulder punch. Yeah.
But the fact that they were talking about, obviously, it doesn't prevent the play. So therefore, it's not a yellow card offence. And they're absolutely right. Klopp's giving it this on the sidelines. The commentator is looking at it as if say, well, you should go back and do it. But the referee, is it who they got in the studio with them?
Oh, Mike Dean. They had Mike Dean and the Dean machine. They had the Dean machine.
Come out and said, yeah, it's look, you go back and you say, well, it hasn't prevented the opportunity to break, so therefore it's not a yellow card. And he's absolutely right. I mean, the second one, the yellow card that he gets in the second half, that's an unbelievably wild challenge. It was fun, fabulous. But yeah, I mean, he could have been booked a couple of times, no doubt. Bruno looked like he was walking a tightrope as well. I thought the yellow card on Miley was really, really harsh.
I was just going to get to that.
Awful. That was a great challenge.
Klopp? Did you see Jurgen Klopp on the sideline in the fourth official's ear?
Oh, he wanted a red.
He's a fucking disgrace. He wants to get a 17-year-old boy a red card after putting in a brilliant challenge, and they laud him, this guy. They fucking laud this turkey-teethed fucking jack-in-the-box wank that he is. I can't stand it. It makes me want to hurl. You know, it's a 17-year-old lad. Eddie Howe's got way too much class about him saying anything. I'd call that wank out after the game. I'd say, I saw him on the sideline trying to get a 17-year-old boy sent off. I'd be like, well done, Jurgen Klopp. What a hero you are to all the kids watching you as a role model. I'd throw him under the bus wheels, but knowing Sky, they'd probably cut that out because they're a bunch of Liverpool pole-smoking bastards, so fuck them.
Look, his age doesn't come into it. If he deserved a red card, he deserved a red card, and if that's fair. But he didn't. He didn't deserve a yellow card. It was a pretty good tackle.
Great tackle.
He gets the ball, and he happens to go through afterwards. It's in control. It's not like he's off the floor. His studs on raised going through Salah, I think it was. He's fully in control of the ball with his feet down. It's a good tackle. How the fucking hell that's a yellow card is beyond me.
Disgraceful. And again, 66 said I did hear that when Botman got about a 3-2, he groaned. I mean, it was just terrible. I'm not talking anymore about Sky because it just pissed me off. But going back to the game, obviously we equalised really quickly. I mean, he hooks Miley off, which is a weird one because we were just talking about Sean Longstaff before we come on. I thought Sean off the ball did really well today. He put in a lot of good tackles. You know, he pressed quite hard. But equally, as good as he was off the ball, he was bad on the ball. I think I text you when he got the ball and he had time. And I think somebody made a run. I don't know if it was Isak. And he hit the worst pass I've ever seen. And I said to you, he's got the vision of Stevie Wonder. To which point you said that's harsh on Stevie Wonder, which is probably a fair
that
comment.
kind of sums up. To be fair, though, that wasn't the worst pass of the night. The worst pass of the night was one of Bruno's that he overhits out to Livramento on the right-hand side.
I saw that just towards the end. Yeah.
It was an awful pass, but
the goal itself, Gordon goes out to that left-hand side and he does quite well. A lovely bit of skill, gets by his man, slips it through to Isak. Van Dijk's kind of caught in no man's land. He got caught a couple of times, Van Dijk. He shouted at Trent Alexander-Arnold because he knows Isak's got him done for pace. And you could see a couple of times he was a little bit worried about Isak's movement after I think that was the game last season when Isak got the 2 goals and made him look like a mug, wasn't it? So I think he's a little bit concerned about Isak's movement. And Isak does look sharp again, I'll give you that.
Yeah.
He was on scraps today, but he looked quite sharp, I felt. And he takes his goal really well, Mark, doesn't he? Just that lovely bit of movement, the finish. That's, I mean, even though we're struggling as a team, that's a striker in confidence. And my God, we just need him to stay fit, though, after what's going on with Wilson. And we need to sign us before January, in my opinion, as well.
Wrap him up and bubble wrap for the next fortnight until the break, and bring in another striker in January. Because if you go into the game, the Villa game at the end of the month with really just Isak, I mean,
that was big trouble.
Feels like Wilson should be fit enough by then, but you need another one. But you wrap him up, you keep him away from everybody. You don't let him get challenged in training or anything because he's just a massive risk. He looks like he's sharp again, and if he's making those runs in behind, which we've missed for a few weeks because he's not been able to do it, and he looked like he was able to. And you're right, Van Dijk just held back. He dropped his level, his defensive line a little bit, and he allowed Isak to run through. And they nearly got done with in the first half when Newcastle had that one disallowed with the header because, I mean, Isak's run through again. He just didn't hold his line long enough. And I mean, that's all on him. But I'm amazed he hasn't read the line better there. But it was so tight.
That was the one when they showed the picture of Konate on like a Nokia 3310 or something. Like, he was pixelated, but he looked like something like Wreck-It Ralph.
The worst one, funny enough, they talk about what was the one I was watching the other day? It was the Burnley game, the Burnley Villa game, where they gave one of the Burnley guys offside, and his foot was, I mean, size 6, 13 or whatever. It was like this big. His foot was like double the length it should have been, and they take it from the front of that, and he honestly looked like he was wearing Krusty the Clown boots. It was ridiculous.
Deeply flawed. Krusty the Clown boots and Mo Salah had Krusty the Clown hair tonight, as everyone was talking about, which is quite humorous. I know I'm not want to talk about hair, but God, his bar, it was terrible. Just a little reminder, some of you guys have said it in the comments as well. We've got 357 in the lives, which is great. Smash the like button, guys. If you can, it really helps the channel grow. So smash us a like. Well, yeah, it'll be great. But I suppose going into the rest of the game, it all kind of fell apart a little bit, didn't it, really, after that 74th minute. Again, it's another one of them chances where Liverpool play through as a catches on the break. It's again, there's not a lot of discipline in the midfield. There's too many spaces. The same kind of thing we saw against Forest. I'm going to talk about Bruno against the grain of the song. I'm going to talk about Bruno. I thought he was poor tonight. I thought he was poor. I know a lot of people give us some shit in the comments for not digging Bruno out. I thought he was poor. I thought he overplayed consistently tonight. He put us under way more pressure than we needed to. In games like this, you just need Bruno to be a bit more disciplined, to hold onto the ball, to make simple, quick passes. If anything, I felt Louis Miley passed the ball better than Bruno when he was on the pitch than Bruno did when, throughout the whole game. Again, his defensive discipline is poor. This number 6 cannot come in soon enough. If this game had been 2-3 weeks into the transfer window and say we did sign a Calvin Phillips, I don't think we concede this Curtis Jones goal. I really don't. I think a number 6 sits back and watches that run because, nobody seemed to be tracking this break, did they? And we just got completely done once again. On
no, it was timing again, wasn't it? Where those gaps in midfield, where there were players forward, there's not enough cover. And they say Liverpool overloaded when they broke as well. They were taking 5 or 6 with them, and Newcastle just couldn't cope. And you're right, Bruno in that middle, I wouldn't say almost on his own at one point, but if he's going to play that deeper role, he has to be deeper. He has to sit deeper. But the trouble is, he wanted to get him further forward to get involved in the creative side of things, and he can't do both. And you're right, he looks really poor. He did give the ball away an awful lot. He didn't look sharp. He didn't look like he was, at his best. We know he can play better than that. But I think it's almost helped with the fact that you have to look at the opposition, and they're flying. They're top for a reason. They're playing this well for a reason. It was always going to be tough. He can't do it on his own, and I do think a 6 is some play that does make an awful lot of difference in a game like that. That can do that Rodri role, sit in front of the defence, drop into as a 3, play a little bit further forward if necessary. But it is a huge hole in that squad.
It's a vital role for me in modern day football. It's people talk about the full backs getting forward and putting crosses in and stuff like that. A defensive midfielder number 6 to smell that danger, to drop back 10 or 15 yards when everybody's pressing, just to watch out for the break is so vital in modern day football. Makelele obviously made it quite a famous role where people were paying top money for it, and then people were more interested in people who could be hybrid type players like Bruno when we signed him. But I think, as Vincent was saying there, Bruno's lack of discipline and everything else is definitely costing us. As Kev says, oh, sorry, mate, you're flying by his comments.
Sorry,
Kev, sorry, yeah. Just put up Kev's comment. So he's just saying the 6 is vital. And the BS Eddie said in his press conference worried me. Bruno and Tadal are not 6s. They don't have the defensive spider sense. That's exactly what it is. It's that ability to keep your head cool where everybody's rushing forward to be part of the attack. And you just go, I'm just going to stay here in case we get caught on the break. And whether you flatten a player or whether you put a ball out of play and just get everyone a chance to come back and reshape, that's what being a number 6 is vitally important to the setup. And I just think these goals we're conceding, they're all the same goals, Mark. They're straight through the middle of the park, and it screams that we need this player. I mean, I saw a couple of worrying things just talking about the transfer window, as Kev said there. A couple of worrying things from Howe's press conference when he was, and I think it was more like hearing people reporting about, like Keith Downing, people like that, saying that what Eddie Howe doesn't want to do is he doesn't want to go out and get 3 or 4 new players and then upset people in the squad. And I sat back and I thought to myself, hang on a minute, what? So if you look at that bench that was there tonight, Mark, that was a rancid bench. That was a Mike Ashley era bench. You're talking about Karius, who fucking hell, right? Like I say, other than being really good looking, right? What is he really? He's not a good goalkeeper, right? Liverpool bombed him because he wasn't that good. Couldn't get a fucking club, and he ends up with us as a third choice goalkeeper behind Dubravka and Pope. And now all of a sudden everyone thinks, oh yeah, Karius is class, And yes, Dubravka's done well. Now, Dubravka's my man of the match, hands down, probably yours too, Mark, I'd say. Because if it wasn't for him, it would have been double digits. But Dubravka still isn't that good of a goalkeeper. That's why I went and spent 10 million quid on Nick Pope. So people need to get a bit of a reality check here. And actually, I said to you, didn't I, with Dubravka, does he know there's a keeper coming in? And that's why he's putting in a performance like that, you think, just to remind Eddie what he's all about?
There's an element that you could say, is that right? But I think it's one of those games. I mean, we've seen that from
just had a good game.
Yeah, I mean, Carl Dolo had one a couple of seasons ago.
Krull against Spurs.
Again,
yeah.
So yeah, you've got to look at it in that regard and just say that he's just had an absolute blinder. I still think Newcastle will look at another one because I think they have to going forward. I don't think Dubravka, he's not going to do that every week. We've seen what you get from him at certain times. Pope isn't the answer for the future. He's great for now, but not for the future. Again, that's another one. And nobody else there. Karius is going to be gone pretty soon, I would imagine. Gillespie's not nowhere near the answer, bless him. So you look to go on. Does that put a little bit of a message almost to the gaffer to say, you don't need another one yet, spend your money elsewhere? Maybe, but he's certainly serviceable for the rest of the season. But I think there are huge priorities in that squad. The defensive midfielder, the striker, another right-sided forward, especially your places to go. Centre back as well is another one because there's a lack of depth there. There's holes all over the squad, and I think we get stuck in this. It's going to take a few windows to get through because there are so many of the old guard that are still there. There are so many of that poor Bruce side that are still there and not going anywhere.
This is a big problem. This is a big problem. I think people get caught up in their loyalty to the lads who have got with it. Every football club evolves and players move on. I mean, Jesus Christ, look what Jack Grealish did for Aston Villa, getting them up and playing the way he did. And they sold him on to cash him in. There's a comment there about Bruno, which we'll maybe talk about in a minute. But, players move on. Sometimes players move on to go into bigger and better things. Sometimes players move on to go back to their level and you get better players in their position. That's just football. Newcastle seem to be caught in this kind of devil and deep blue sea thing because, we have FFP is a restriction. We haven't got money to buy these great players, so we need to have Matt Rich on the bench. There's no way in fucking hell we should have Matt Rich on the bench in 2023. No chance. No way. If I sat and had a fucking coffee with Eddie Howe, I'd say, Eddie, I'm sorry, that one ain't right. The guy can't run. I can fucking run more than Matt Ritchie. That's how fucked he is, and I've just gained about 9 stone at Christmas. Just finishing the other goals, yeah. So obviously Gakpo scores again a pretty much identical goal to the other one. That's another dribbled in, walk through the middle goal. Botman gets it back to 3-2, and it's probably a good time to bring up Billy's comment there. Good to see Billy in the comments. I'm sure he's just fresh off the commentary, which I will watch next time, Billy. I won't listen to those wankers. Terrible. Billy said he thinks Eddie needs to stop using his recently discovered Steve Bruce book of halftime team talks. What is he saying to them? He also needs to stop the negative mindset to those subs at 3-2. I think the problem is Billy's probably right there, that the pressure is coming on. I don't care what anybody says. Some people don't want to admit that there's pressure on Eddie Howe. If you actually saw Eddie Howe's press conference, he said exactly what I had said in our video, that Eddie Howe is used to that pressure. He lives in that pressure every day. So all these little snowflakes who are scared to say Eddie Howe's under pressure, and go off and write fucking articles about and all this other bollocks. He knows he's under pressure. He's a football manager. Every single day they're in the job is pressure. Whether it's good about, look at Steve Cooper. The fans were fucking crying when that guy got the bin, right? Because he's everything to them Forest fans. He brought them back to the promised land from being in the wilderness. There's nothing wrong with saying the obvious that the manager is under pressure. But the pressure that he's putting himself under, Mark, is kind of his own doing a little bit because of his lack of maybe in-game management. Now, tonight's a difficult one because I don't think any of us thought we were going to win. I actually said 3-1, didn't I? And then in the match preview, I think most people had us down to lose tonight. But sticking in a game as long as we did and defending so resolutely as we did, we'll get to this penalty in a minute, the biggest bullshit of the night. But again, did Newcastle's lack of control and lack of game management cost us that game again? Or was it just a case of they kept knocking the door and then we just went, oh shit, there we go, in you come?
Well, I think lack of control is one thing. There was none right from the off. Liverpool set the stall out really, really early on with exactly what they wanted to do. there were moments when Newcastle kept the ball, but it wasn't for very long. It was 2, 3, 4 passes, and then they give it away. And it was, I think there was more of an attacking threat at times. Certainly, second half, it looked like there were moments that Newcastle could get through. There were little positives in there, but defensively, starting from the midfield, it was just awful. They allowed Liverpool to just overrun them far too many times, and didn't adapt to it. And I think that's the key thing. We've seen that in a number of games so far, particularly across the last month, that Newcastle haven't been able to adapt to what the opposition are doing to them. They didn't adapt against Forest at home. They didn't adapt against Liverpool again tonight, where they can see what the opposition are wanting to do, but there's nothing in them to be able to turn around and go, right, we need to change what we're doing to now counter what they're doing. There's just not that switch to flick. And well, that's from the manager or the players. The players can obviously see it. The manager can surely see it. So you have to be able to adapt to what's going on. And there are, and I know there are issues because the numbers of players are limited, and I sort of half understand the comment about the substitutions tonight. But when you look at what's left on the bench, what else was there to do? I mean, you've got Joe Linton, who was walking a tightrope with a second yellow card. I thought Almiron coming on was probably the right decision, although I'd maybe have taken off Gordon because I thought he looked absolutely shattered.
Gordon was shattered, man. He was shattered in the first half, Gordon. But surprised he come out in the second half.
Hall for Burn, I thought was a good substitution in that regard, but probably too late. And you look at the rest, you've got 2 goalkeepers, Matt Ritchie, Alex Murphy, Paul Dummett, and Emil Kraft on the bench, and they're not going to change the game for you. And at that point, the 4 defenders aren't the problem. It's what's ahead of them that's the issue. There's just nothing. The squad needs work.
I don't disagree with Sean's comment there. I think we are fighting for 7th place. I think anyone who thinks we're pushing top 4 with this squad is completely kidding themselves on. Unless we get 3 or 4 real quality players in there to improve this squad in January, which to me, listen, Dubravka's been class tonight, right? But we still need a goalkeeper. He's conceded, how many goals is it now? Is it 16 goals or something? Or whatever it is, he's conceded a lot of goals since Pope's got injured. Yes, he did really well tonight, but he's been equally as poor in the Forest game. He was like tracing paper in the Forest game when Wood ran at him, And Chris Wood's hips fucking dislocated. He's never moved that quick in the last 10 years of his career, probably. The Dubravka went to ground and made his decision so easy for him. We need a new goalkeeper. We definitely need some more creativity. We need a number 6. There's no doubt about it. We need another striker, because now Wilson's injured again. And that disappointed me a lot, because even though he was out of the squad, to see him fucking off to Dubai at the airport, when the lads are, I know Eddie's given the time off and stuff, but, remember back last season when the lads used to travel with the squad to away games and be watching it rather than pissing off on a little holiday in January. I just, and I know they're away from their families and stuff at Christmas and all that, and I sympathise a little bit with that, but just something about it doesn't look right. We're in a really bad run of form. We've got a tiny bit derby coming up. If Wilson's rested from the squad, I want to see him at the training pitch getting a massage or fucking working on weights or something like that, looking handsome and bench pressing like 60 kilo or something like that, you know what I mean? I don't want to see him at a departure gate fucking off the, top of his tan and have a Mai Tai. It's not right. It's not right. You know what I mean? It's just, I just don't agree with it at all. But let's get into the 4th goal then, Mark, before we look at some more comments. This 4th goal, this game was a shit game anyway. I think the referee was a little bit, I think he lost control a bit of it, really. I thought he bottled a few big decisions. The Louis Mile yellow card, as you rightly say, is a disgraceful decision. Should never be doing that in a million years. I don't know why that's why Eddie hooked him in case he was going to get a red card. He didn't want him to have that in his career. Maybe he thought the ref was possibly being a bit too trigger happy with the cards. He thought, I'll take Louis off. I don't want him to have that. Obviously, I don't want him being suspended either for the next game, so I'll take him off. Then we get to this goal. So Jota, who always scores when he comes on at the minute, right? Jota is a really good little player. Pops up with a goal. He's a great impact sub. The kind of player we need off the bench when things aren't going right. He gets through on goal. He rounds Dubravka. And they say Dubravka's elbow hits him. You're a keeper. I'll come to you about this in a minute. Jota then falls down about 15 years later, and then the referee gives a penalty. And I honestly, every week I scratch my head more and more about this league in the PGMOL. But that there was nothing but cheating. That little fuckwit is trying to get Dubravka sent off, in my opinion. I mean, thankfully Taylor just booked him, but that's a disgraceful decision, Mark, isn't it?
I said to you before he came on, I think if Jota goes down first, if he goes down at the point of contact, there's no argument. But he's clearly not disrupted by the contact, because he then takes 2 more steps, including a one on his foot that he was caught on. Therefore, it's not a penalty because he's not been impeded at all. Had he fallen over at the point of contact and gone over the goalkeeper, yeah, you can. So fair enough. Goalkeeper's taken his foot. He's cleaned him out, but he's then taken 2 steps. And at that point, there's absolutely no need to go down at that point. He's only gone down to do one to get a penalty, 2 to try and get the goalkeeper set off. Double jeopardy rule, that's not going to happen. I mean, the commentators, I'll give them credit for that tonight, because they were like, yeah, that's not a penalty. And even Mike Dean in the thing was saying that he didn't think it was a penalty either. Like I say, is he... If he
Patrick says, was he offside? Was he offside?
I'd need to see it. Probably. I mean, they surely will have checked that. Well, it's VAR, so maybe he's not. But look, there's contact on his foot. That's clear, and that's fine. But contact doesn't mean a foul. And the simple fact that he's managed to take 2 more steps without looking bothered suggests that he hasn't been impeded at all by it. Therefore, it's not a foul.
He could have scored, for my opinion. I don't think he has to go down. He throws himself down. It's not like his legs. If his leg had been clipped and he's running and you could see him off balance and then he falls, I'd maybe say fair enough, it's a penalty. But he's composed himself and balanced himself enough to slot that in the back of the net. And I don't understand why he goes down, other than trying to get the goalkeeper sent off, which is cheating, and it mirrors the shithouse manager they've got on the sideline with all his dirty little tricks. He's quick to call other people masters of the dark arts and all that, and he's vile, trying to get a 17-year-old boy sent off for a great challenge on your best player. And the way that he goes on the sideline is a fucking disgrace. Paul's in the comments saying that Wilson's actually going to a warm weather training camp. It's not a holiday. So my apologies to the handsome one.
Can I just respond to one? Because this guy's in the comments loads, and just one comment. Doesn't matter how many steps contact impedes, it doesn't impede him. It doesn't.
No,
the simple fact that he's managed to take 2 steps beyond him upright and then throws himself down. Sorry, it doesn't impede him. It's not a penalty.
The Liverpool podcast must be shit, mate. That's probably why he's in here.
Or off somewhere else, mate.
Yeah. To be fair, like I say, if I'm a Liverpool fan, I'm more disappointed that you didn't batter Newcastle 7-1 or 6-1 or something.
Yeah,
it probably should have been. And by the way, the keeper can be sent off for that if he's the last man. So that's why he's going down.
Double jeopardy. If he's given the penalty, he can't book. He can't, unless it's a clear and obvious goal scorer, and because he's going wide. I think at that point, it's not an obviously clear goal scoring opportunity. So he would only get a yellow.
Fair enough. Well, I'll tell you someone who can't get sent off, this knob. So fuck off, back to Liverpool podcast, you dickhead. He's been sent off. How about that for a red card? He's out of here.
Doing the same thing. I can't be bothered.
I'm not in the mood for it. Fucking bellend. Honestly, these sad losers. Go watch your own fucking channels. Honestly, what a fucking dick. Comment there from the new monkey saying, how the fuck is Anthony Taylor still a Premier League referee? It's a good question. He has made some howlers. Seems every game he's in charge. He does completely balls up. I don't disagree at all. I've got a comment there, backing Wilson. DXK, I think there's been some chat about selling Wilson in the chat. He's got 25 Premier League goals in 30 games. Listen, Wilson's a cracking Premier League striker, right? He's not quite Champions League, in my opinion. We talked about that previously. But he has missed about 40% games, I think, in his whole kind of time at Newcastle United. He has missed big chunks of it with injury. Yes, when he's fit, he scores. But you know what? So was Michael Owen. Michael Owen was the same. When he was fit, he scored. Listen, I know I'm sorry, but I'm just making a point here that Michael Owen's like, Yeah, Michael Owen's the devil incarnate, and Newcastle fans are rightly so because he's an awful little wanker. But when he was fit, he scored goals. Same thing that Callum Wilson's doing. The only difference is Callum Wilson's not running off to join somebody else when we get relegated because we're not that we're not that type of club. You're right, Ricky. He has been a fantastic striker for us. There's no doubt about that. But as Derek says, he is injury prone. And he's 31, 32 now. So we have to start looking at a contingency plan. I said this on Twitter as well. You've got to start looking at a contingency plan for Wilson. I mean, January coming. What worries me about January, Mark? We're going to do more of an episode on January, I think, when we get a couple of games out of the way. But what worries me about January, I don't know whether Eddie's playing it cool and he's trying to throw people off the scent, which I totally understand why. But this squad needs major surgery in January. They keep throwing the FFP thing and all that, right? And I get it, I understand it, right? They want to play by the rules and all that stuff, and I totally understand it, right? But unfortunately, you have some real holes in this squad that you need to fix. The reason that we've hung on to a lot of these players, your Richies, your Lascelles, your Dummets, because no fucker wants them. And Shelvey, when we had him, nobody wanted to pay John Shelvey 80 grand a week. That's why we couldn't get rid of him. And he went to Forest, and what did Forest do? Peddled him straight away because he realised he wasn't Premier League quality, right? All of this nostalgia of, the lads, yeah, they've been cracking players in the past, but they should be moved on. There's been better players for this football club that we've moved on much quicker than we've moved any of these players on. I'm talking about Les Ferdinand, Rob Lees, Warren Bartons, guys like that. We moved them on when they still had way more to offer than what these current group of players have. And we need to start wielding the accent of this squad. We really, really do. Comment there from Phil saying Minter is the real deal. He does look the real deal, but how backward of a deal is that, Mark? That Minter, we have to ask Feyenoord if we can have our own player back, and we have to give them an offer to buy him back for the loan deal. Who's done that loan deal? Scholler.
Yeah, it's an odd one, but you look at it and you go, did anybody expect him to really catch fire?
To be as good as he was. Yes, I get that. Yeah.
The potential was there, which is why they've bought him. But I don't think anybody really went, he's gonna light the place up and probably be a better option than most of what's at the club already. They obviously don't anticipate the injuries to Willock being long term, to Harvey Barnes being long term. So it's a difficult one. And Williams put there, Minter not ready. There's an argument for that as well, to be thrown into the Premier League at this point. Will he do the same thing in the Premier League as he's doing in the Eredivisie?
Two words, mate. Louis Miley. If you're good enough, you're old enough.
But my argument to that would then be, but Miley has been in and around the first team for the last couple of seasons.
True.
So Minter would be coming in having never really trained with this squad, having never really played under Eddie Howe, doesn't really understand that side of it. So that would be a lot more difficult a step for him to take. But look, the lad's got talent. There's no denying that. He could certainly come in. He's going to be a better option on the bench than that fucking Richie.
But you would think so. We've got Alf in the comments, who must be an Arsenal fan. He says you can have Jorginho if you want. Do you know what? Previously, I wouldn't have minded Jorginho, but I think he's got off the boil a lot for Arsenal.
I'm sure there was an argument made last season to bring Jorginho in by a certain
I think there was. But I think he's gone right off the boil, isn't he? And so that's probably why the Arsenal fans are trying to hawk him over to us, to be fair. But the Arsenal fans will still be annoyed after that result for them. I hope they can get back into that title race, because I wouldn't want that clippity-clop wank to win the league. Do us a favour, Arsenal fans. You win it ahead of him, will you? Your manager's marginally better than him. Marginally better. Fine margins. Yeah.
Come on.
You're talking Rizzler paper wit, but still, anyway. But I mean, so obviously the game ends 4-2, Mark, and I mean it's that game, isn't it? It's that first game of the difficult month. I mean, in many ways, I wasn't really overly bothered about this game. I don't want to sound daft. Of course, I want Newcastle to do well, but looking at this game, I thought myself, this is probably going to be the struggle. Weirdly enough, City at home, I probably would be more confident about getting a result, because we're at home. We've got the St James's Park Raw, the crowd, everything there. The lads seem to step up their game at home. We're a different side at home than we are away. The stats tell you that. There's no hiding from that. Eddie can deny it all he wants, but when we're away, we're nervous, we look shaky, we don't have any shape. People don't seem to be confident to do things that they used to do last season when they were away from home. So City at home, I feel more confident about. Villa away is going to be very difficult. I know Villa obviously had a bad result against Man United, but they got back to winning ways. Only just, mind you, the other day, but they still got back to winning ways, and they're playing really well. The biggest game this month, bar none, Mark, for me is the derby. The biggest game, bar none, and they were talking about it on Sky. Carragher, who was nowhere near as bad as the other two, and I think even he said that this is the biggest game, I think, for Eddie Howe this month. If he loses this game, a lot of people are already saying in the comments that they're feeling the worst for the derby. But if Eddie Howe loses the derby, what do you think that could do to confidence in the manager?
Look, I still think he's got credit. I still think there's an awful lot gone wrong this season, injuries, and things. And I guess it depends on the manner of what happens.
How are you?
If you go out and they look, I'll be fair to them. I watched their game today. Again, granted, it was against Preston, but look, they move the ball really well forward, and they've got a couple of players in the likes of Clark and Pritchard and stuff that move very well from the left or through the middle, especially Pritchard getting into that centre. He hit a cracking goal today. So there are danger signs in terms of the potential upset, and it's a horrible game to go into when you're in a really poor run of form. Equally, this could just galvanise everybody as well, and I think Eddie got to get that into everybody that this is one of those blood and thunder games where everything's on the line and they all have to be a 9 out of 10 at very minimum. They've all got to go. They've got to temper that red mist that comes into them, because I think Sunderland will try and shithouse their way through it a little bit in terms of that. I think they will try and wind them up. The crowd is going to be, they're going to have more fans there for a start. They won't have seen a crowd like this in 8 years.
First time in a long time.
So there's a few that need to watch themselves in that regard as well. Bruno being the case in point for that, because his temper can get the best of him. And he starts throwing himself into a couple of challenges in a derby, and all of a sudden the crowd's on his back and things. So it's going to be an odd one, but a hard one. Sorry, does it spell the end? No, I don't think so. If he loses it, but
some fans might turn. Some fans might turn if he loses it.
I think a few have already, but I tell you what, the door's open. I think if they lose at the weekend, I think the door opens a crack, and there's definite discussions around. This isn't getting better, and I know it's only a month or so of it, but there doesn't seem to be an awful lot of adapting to the situation, and that worries me in terms of being able to change the way that you play and holding onto the ball and being able to just adapt to the game situations. That's always been an issue thrown at them.
I do agree with Marco's comment there, though. I think he does deserve another season to clear out some of these old players. But again, he also has to take some responsibility that he's been the one who said, let's keep these players and let's reward them with new contracts. So he does have to. I think he's got a bit caught up in what happened last season. These players really performed way above their station, and he's maybe thought, let's give them the chance to back it up. And I just don't think. A lot of them have showed that they're capable at that level. Derek thinks we need someone like Mancini. Mancini's not really done much since he left City, though. He was the Italy manager, and what's Mancini's managerial career really been like since he left City? Everyone gets this semi-on for Mancini because he came into City, and obviously after Hughes, and then he took them to that next level and stuff like that. But has Mancini really done much, Mark, since he's left City?
But he went to Inter, didn't he? So he into Galatasaray, Zenit, the Italian national side, and is he currently the Saudi manager?
Might be. Maybe that's a link. Then maybe that's a link. Possibly.
There's possibly a way in, I guess, from that, but.
I'm not sure about Zidane. DXK saying Zidane. I think Zidane got very lucky with inheriting that Real Madrid side, and I think you could say the same thing about Pep when he was at Barca, but then Pep's backed it up. I think there's a reason Zidane hasn't took another job because I don't think Zidane's is forget the fact he was a mid player. I don't think he's as good of a coach as people think
he wants level up here, I think, where he's got a shit ton of money to spend with a
super,
squad that's already there.
Tight,
he's not going to come in.
Teams, yeah,
he's not going to come in for a project. I think the one thing Eddie Howe has to look at is sentimentality now, and that.
Yeah.
Yes, you look at the players that did really well last season, but you have to throw sentiment out the window now and go, look, whatever's happening isn't good enough, and he has to start dropping players that don't deserve to be in the side. He has to start looking to replace players that maybe have reached their peak. I think Dan Burn, as harsh as it's going to sound, and I think he's played really, really well, he's at a level. He's not going to get any better. You need to move on from that sort of level. The likes of Lascelles have gone. They need to move on. All those types of players. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Stu Mag there saying, personally, Howe's got full credit in the bank for him. He's up there, what he's achieved so far. Yeah, absolutely. He's not above criticism, and the recruitment has let him down. The Mackham game is crucial. I totally agree with that, Stu Mag. I think, as Mark was alluding to there's this fine line between respecting the players who have got us out of the relegation mire into the Champions League, way ahead of schedule. But then, as you rightly say, Mark, there comes that moment in a manager's career where you have to be ruthless, and you've got to say to players, listen, you've done a great job for the football club. We'll massively appreciate that. We respect everything you've done, but we're going to move on from you as a player. So, thank you very much. You're free to leave the club. We've accepted a couple of offers for you, whatever, and off they go. And you watch players like Lascelles, even though he's done really well since Bob has been injured, Lascelles will not go above Newcastle. His level will not go higher than Newcastle. He'll go lower. Matt Ritchie will go lower or even retire. They cancelled Hayden's contract, I think, from what I was reading. That's getting terminated. So he's free to join another club in January, apparently, from what I don't know if that's true or not. And you look at some of the other players, Manquillo in the background, Gillespie, guys like that. You just think to yourself, this is not a top 6 Premier League squad. You have to start improving in the, not just the 11, but also the kind of the other 12 that's behind the scenes. You have to start improving on that quality as well. So when you have injuries at key times, you can bring in better players. They're not going to be better than the one who's injured. So you're not going to, lose Alexander-Isak and bring in, Erling Haaland, like that. Do you know what I mean? You're going to lose Alexander-Isak and bring in a decent striker, and then that's what we need to do. Because you say we have to remember that Sunderland are not top of the Prem. That's very true.
It's a good point.
I don't think they've been top of the Prem for a long time. I think since Kevin Phillips played for them, mate. But anyway, it's one of them things. I just think for me, we can't get too disheartened by this. There was glimpses of something decent at spells in the game. I think again, Isak looks sharp. Miley again showed he's not overawed by any occasion that's thrown in front of him. Bullshit yellow card. Questionable substitution about him. It's good to see Botman fit and back on the score sheet. Share looked good for spells today. I thought he looked like he shaked off what's been bothering him. He was good defensively tonight with Share. Livramento was all right, got caught a little bit, I felt. But that's probably the best winger he's played against in Diaz since he was probably in the Parc des Princes, really, I would say, Livramento. He's not had somebody run at him with that kind of quality since then. But Dubravka was good as well tonight, but I still think we need a good goalkeeper, Mark. But I mean, that's kind of my closing thoughts on it. I'm not going to get too downhearted about this. I was expecting to lose the game. Some of the decisions were questionable, poor refereeing, bad penalties. But, the big game's coming on the 6th of Jan, and we'll be back with a preview and a post-match for that, Mark, as well, almost soon on the channel. So,
yeah, absolutely. Look, my sort of thoughts. Look, I think frustrating to have seen the nature, I think, at times of the way it's gone tonight. But as one of the comments said there, lost 4-2 at Anfield against a side that hasn't lost a match at home all season. I think, is it something like they've lost one all year at home or something like that? I think, look, Anfield's always a tough place to go. We know that. And especially when they're playing really well, it's always going to be difficult. There were positive signs. They were small, but there were positives in that defeat. There were glaring holes in it as well, which is I think frustrating. But I think they can be filled over time. And it is still, and I know I get panned for it a little bit, but it is still really early in this journey. It is really early in this project. And yes, it's worrying that you've only got one win in the last 8 games. But look, there's 2 games in the league left this month, isn't there? There's City on the 13th and then Villa at the end of the month before the transfer window shuts. There's time to bring in a few more bodies for the rest of the season. And that fight for 7th, and I think one of the comments earlier on as well had suggested, look, 7th to 10th isn't a disaster. It's not where you want to be, but it's not a massive disaster, and it allows you to get another summer out of the way, another summer where you can move players on and bring new players in. It's not the end of the world. What you don't want to do is start falling below that, because I think then that starts to be really, really difficult. But yeah, not the end of the world tonight. There are a few things to take out of it, but you just have to hold your hands up and go, look, lost to the better team on the night, and that's it. You move on from that.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. Good way to end it, mate. But like I say, thanks very much, everyone, for tuning in tonight and the lives and every comment you've banged in there. Sorry we couldn't pull them all. There was loads of comments, and it's great to see all the chat alive there. As we mentioned at the start, if you haven't already, smash subscribe. We'd love you to come and join us. Loads of content coming. Transfer window is officially open, so there'll be loads of rumour hazards flying around all the players that are linked to the football club. We'll be back with a match preview for the Sunderland game, and then hopefully a victorious post-match review when we beat the Mackhams, because that is the biggest game this month. Have a cracking evening, whatever you're doing, everybody. Don't let this game fester on you. Get it out of the way. Another game coming, and we'll catch you later.
Take care, guys.
Cheers, guys.